Hi, it's Dale Elena here. I haven't done a video for a while. I say this every time I make a video, I think, but it's been a busy time with COVID and dealing with life in general, and I just haven't really felt like kind of sitting in front of the camera and putting myself out there so much. It's been a time to kind of like stay indoors and be a bit scruffy. Excuse my hair, it's all grown out. There's a lot of grey. Haven't been able to go to the hairdresser for a while, but that's okay. So I'm just kind of living and enjoying it, and not letting the pressure of having to perform my femininity outside kind of get, or the lack of being able to do that. Because actually going out and presenting femininely in your transition is quite important, and having that feedback of walking down the road in the clothes you like and putting some effort of putting yourself together and then going out, it helps carry you along to a degree. And the pandemic has kind of put a big stop to a lot of that stuff. Like, it's just easier to hang around in jeans and a t-shirt because you're not going out, and so why bother doing things? But the weather's changed here in London. It's really spring-like for the last week after having been like sub-zero temperatures. It's suddenly turned really, really mild and into like 15 degrees and 18 degrees the other day. Very, very sunny today, and it was absolutely beautiful. And with that change in the temperature, it becomes a real change in attitude, and it makes you want to go out and do things again and dress up a little bit more and maybe present differently. And so that kind of brings me on to my topic. I'm going to do topics now. I'm like so organized. Isn't it incredible? My topic for today is transition related procedures, and particularly facial feminization surgery, or FFS as it's called. This is something that I did in December of 2019, and I wanted to just go over how I felt about it. Now, it's over a year of recovery since then, and they say it takes up to a year or a year to really have things kind of settle down. And I wanted to just explain what the procedures were and how I feel about them now, and how the healing has gone as well, because I think I've noticed a few other trans people are looking forward to their facial surgeries coming up or doing it right now, and so I think it's worth putting some information out there as far as it affected me, and at my age as well. I'm 49, just to give you an idea. So I lived with my own facial structure for a very long time, so making a change to it has been interesting. And on top of the changes that have happened cosmetically, I'm reaching an age where my face is changing quite a lot because of my age as well. And it's really interesting, those things kind of collide a little bit and potentially work against each other. But so yeah, in December 2019, I went to Marbella in Spain, and I had surgery with the facial team, who are specialists in feminization surgery for trans people. They are a couple of maxillofacial surgeons who work on the bone and the structure of the face, and then they have a plastic surgeon that works with them as well, who does things like the soft tissues such as nose, like rhinoplasty in particular. I'm gonna just take off my glasses for a sec and show you. So I had my forehead reduced, and what it did is, I think this is going to make sense, I had a more protruding brow bone, and this was shaved down here. They actually do an incision across the top of your head and peel the face down, and then they make they kind of carve away a section of the frontal sinus bone there, and then they shave down the brow, and then they put that other piece back again, which makes the structure a little bit better, and doesn't endanger your sinuses or anything like that. Oh, there we go. But yeah, that really made a huge difference to this shape of my face and across my eyebrows. It kind of lifts the eyebrows, and in particular, it really rounds the socket of the eye, or lets women naturally have a less protruding brow bone, and so it lets light into the eyes from above rather than it being shaded like this light is doing now. So you see the eyes more, and that's quite maybe an unconscious feminine attribute that we don't think about so much. And so that really, this part here, really changed my face immediately as soon as I woke up from surgery. There was no swelling in this area because it's not really muscular. It's just some skin and some bone, really. There's not much going on. And so this, from here up, I looked completely different, and it was really quite an amazing thing. From here down, I was a real mess. So heading down, I had my nose adjusted slightly. It was always a little lumpy, and they narrowed it just slightly, and they particularly narrowed the tip because it bothered me. It was a slightly rounded thing, and my nostrils were quite flared. I had quite a wide nose, or so I would think. Other people might not, but that's okay. It's up to me. And they basically trimmed the skin inside here and then reattached the nostrils, so they essentially do this. They kind of come in a little bit tighter. That leaves a scar across the tip of the nose here underneath, and then along the bottom. And this scar here was almost invisible right from the get-go. The one on the bottom has taken quite a long time. It's very, very subtle, don't get me wrong, but it's taken quite a long time to heal, and it hasn't really disappeared. And I've got a silicone gel and rosehip oil and things that I put on it regularly, and I have done since I had surgery. And it's reduced, but it's still kind of there. It disappears with makeup, and no one really is looking at this part of your nose, hopefully. And so it's not really a problem. I mean, that's fine. Now, sorry, actually, I've mixed up two procedures together. So the rhinoplasty did the nostrils, but the incision across the bottom here actually wasn't for my nose. It was to take my lip and lift it upwards, like to make it kind of curl up more, which again is more of a feminine attribute. And particularly because I've had facial hair, which you can kind of see the shadow from the facial hair that I've still got and haven't been able to get rid of for the last year of COVID. Which has really slowed me down, but never mind. We've all lost momentum. But the hair I had here, I had quite a thick moustachey sort of growth. It could easily have grown a big bushy beard, but that made my upper lip kind of stretch over time. And so they've taken away some skin here and reattached it upwards so that it kind of opens the mouth more. And that when you're relaxed, it keeps the teeth showing slightly. So that's something, again, is another reasonably well-known feminine attribute. And then lastly, I had my jaw reshaped, the chin and the jawbone on the sides, and they go through your mouth, and then they kind of use I think it's like a sonic saw of some sort, and they chisel away at the bone there, and it doesn't change the skin on the outside. The skin on the outside has to reform on its own, so that's part of the longest piece of recovery you have, I think, with that surgery. So from here up, I never really had any problems. I had a bandage on my nose, and after a week that came off. I had stitches, and they came out very easily. There was no real pain. I had stitches across the back of my head where the face was flopped down. They were very weird when they came out, and in fact the night after surgery they pull a drain out, and that's a really strange sensation. I don't wish that on anyone, but it's really quick, and you kind of, before you know what's going on, it's already finished, so it's fine. But yeah, the jaw surgery is a weird one because I'm really happy with the lip lift, very happy with my nose, although I thought it was overdone when I first got the surgery. And I love the brow. The chin is a bit weirder because the shaping is better. I always had quite a strong cleft in my chin, like a dimple. It's kind of half there, half not there now, and that's kind of weird. And I find that the skin, partly because of my age, it hasn't really tightened up over the top of that again. And I still have some scarring from electrolysis, hair removal, and I'm kind of getting on. And so there's been some droopiness in my face for a few years because I'm older. And particularly, you can probably see under my neck, if I relax, there's just a lot more kind of saggy skin down here. And that's partly because there was more jaw and it was tighter because of that. And I'm quite physically fit at the moment, but this is something that since the surgery, I really notice. And, that's the one downside, I think, that had I been 25 or 30 or something, that would probably have sprung fairly tight quite quickly because I just would have had a more youthful skin. And I think the muscles in your neck here slowly sag and divide a little bit as you get older. And I think this has just accelerated that process now. At my age, I kind of feel like I look about 5 to 10 years older than I probably should in this particularly in this area. But on the whole, I see photos of myself now before that surgery, and I don't really recognize myself. I see. I know it's me, right? I'm not silly, but I don't connect with that person anymore, and I think that's a really good thing. I feel like I'm much more kind of me now with this version of my face, and it's much more satisfying to myself that I do feel more feminine with my FFS. So it's an interesting procedure to get. Firstly, it's really expensive. So you have to have some means to do it, and not everyone's going to be able to afford that, so that's really hard. So it's by no means it should ever be called a necessity to be trans, and you should be just acceptable as trans as you are. If you have the means or can do FFS and it's something that you feel like you really want, then I'm all for it, because I've done it, and I had the ability to pay for it at the time. Straight afterwards, the pandemic hit, and I'm still going to be paying for it for a little while. But that's kind of that's just bad luck, really. It's super expensive. There's quite a long recovery for it, to really see the full changes. The initial puffiness and things goes down quite fast, actually, and I found the recovery pretty okay. I just looked after myself, drank lots of water, got lots of sleep, and just didn't push myself. And I really followed all the advice to the health. There was very little pain at any point in the process. I was uncomfortable on the very first night, and I was probably a fair bit delirious as well, but that was mostly because my shoulder and my bum completely fell asleep because you're on the surgical table for such a long time doing a bunch of procedures. So my muscles kind of died a bit. The blood flow had left them. And so my joints and my bum took like 3 or 4 days to get the feeling back, and it actually took about a month before it wasn't like twitchy. My arms, when I woke up, were really just, that was agony, and I just wanted one of the nurses who was Spanish, who didn't really, and I obviously was unintelligible even though I felt like I was being quite lucid. I just wanted them to pick up my arm and maybe move it around a bit, because that would have made all the difference in the world. But other than the surgical stuff, there wasn't really any pain to speak of that was more than a minor thing that anyone could deal with. So yeah, what was my list? I started a list with 1, and I didn't get much further. Okay, 1, it's very expensive. You have to be able to travel to get to Marbella potentially to do the surgery, and there's some time involved for that. There's time and recovery. It's a surgical procedure, so there's risks to that. But 1 year on, how do I feel about it? I'm super, super happy that I did it. Financially, it's ended up being quite a big hit for me because of COVID happening right afterwards, and I was expecting to pay that money back that I'd pushed aside to do the surgery, and I was going to pay it back again and carry on, but it pushed me into some debt actually when COVID came along. But that's not really the fault of the surgery or the procedure, that's just bad timing. But yeah, I'm super happy with it in general. I would love to be able to fix this area down here, and I'm actually starting to talk to plastic surgeons that do normal facelifts and stuff, and because actually if I could just do that, you can't really even see it, it's not even that bad, but if I could just do that, it would make a massive difference to me, because I do spot my neck all the time in the mirror and things, or just in a reflection thing, and it bothers me. And it doesn't matter how fit I am, it doesn't matter how slim I get, that doesn't really go away, because it's just kind of doesn't have the suppleness it would have had when I was younger. And the less jaw is created more room for that soft tissue to be there. So that soft tissue itself needs to be tweaked, and that's not something they do in the FFS procedure itself. So yeah, that other than fixing that, which is really like a minor thing that I would love to do at some point when I can afford it, when I can recover from it. If it's not too expensive, if it's like a full facelift thing, just to do that, because some of the people I've asked, they've said we only do this bit when they do the full facelift, and then you're talking like lots and lots and lots of money, and that just seems dumb to me. So if I could find someone that's just interested in just doing that piece as a revision of the FFS, then that would be great. Otherwise I'll wait another 10 years and do the full facelift, get it all in one go. When I really probably need it, hitting 60 or something. So that's kind of the procedure. I have also, and this is just a little bonus at the end of the procedural FFS discussion about 1 year on, I'm also looking at the moment in the possibility of doing a vocal feminization surgery procedure. There is a well-known place in South Korea called Yeson that do VFS, or vocal feminization surgery, but it turns out, I've just found this out recently because of an English trans woman called Nicole Gibson was in the press, and the press was the report had said she is about to do a newer surgery in London doing VFS, and that surgery is a glottoplasty, which is very much the same procedure that they do in South Korea, where they suture the vocal folds tighter together, and like stretching a string on a violin, it makes the pitch rise. But the one in London is quite reasonably priced. It's a very quick procedure. The surgery is only is less than an hour, I think. The bigger cost is actually the hiring of the surgery. It's the room itself, more than the surgeon and the anesthesiologist. So it's a very quick procedure. So overall, not too expensive. Still pricey, but not too expensive. With a week of silence rather than a month of silence compared to the Korean one, which I could be wrong about that detail, but I'm pretty sure it's a month of no talking. Whereas the London one is a week. And then a month of very light talking and not stressing the voice or anything like that. And so that procedure, which could lift my pitch up maybe 50 hertz, which would be great. That would take me well into the feminine range, because I'm in an androgynous range at the moment. I'm not really anything, one thing or another. And that would be something I would really love to do. And this year being what it's been already with COVID and jobs just starting to get going again, I feel like I had to put aside my genital surgery from last year. I was going to do it last year, and of course there was no work because of COVID. The clinics shut down because of COVID. You couldn't travel because of COVID. So that's kind of gone, and it's actually gone now for this year too, because I just wouldn't be able to afford it or afford the time off to recover from it. So I'm going to push that down to like 2022, hopefully. But then this year I could look forward to doing the VFS surgery to raise my pitch, and that just gives me something to kind of keep feeling like I'm moving forward and doing the things I need to do to achieve a better result in my transition for me. These things, again, are all elective. They should be what's right for you at the right time, and that you can afford without having to put strain on your life. And at the end of the day, again, they shouldn't be important for just being trans. You should be allowed to be trans and be you, and that should be okay for people. But if you have the ability and you want to make some changes to yourself, and you feel like they can help you, then I'm all for that idea. And I think that it's personally really exciting to have this VFS surgery to look forward to this year and work towards, and it'll make the next job I do, part of it in the back of my mind will be, this job's great because it's going to get me to that thing that I want to do. And maybe I could do it in July or June, which would be really pretty amazing. Chances are I'm going to have to get another job to afford it before that, so it might actually be more like October or November or something, but at least it's something I could do this year, so that's really good. Okay, I'm onto like so many bars of audio, so I've definitely rambled on again. It's quite a long video. That's when I apologize if it's way too long. I don't edit these. I'm going to just try and do it this is just me doing a spiel. I have some more topics that I'm going to cover next time, so hopefully me being slightly more organized might help. It's not making them any shorter, but this is me, Dale Elena. I'm 49 years old. I'm a trans woman, and these videos are about my transition. And thanks so much for watching, and I hope that if any way they could be helpful or just at very least interesting. I hope to see you again next time. Bye.